I'm calling this meeting of ANC 5F to order. First order of business is a roll call. I will go in order. Commissioner Hurst.
Present.
Commissioner Sani.
Present.
Commissioner Williams. We see her online.
She's unmuted.
Great. Commissioner Williams.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Commissioner Williams is present. Commissioner Galvin.
Present.
Commissioner Anderson is myself, and I'm present. Commissioner Bishop Henchman.
Present.
Commissioner Pinckney.
Present.
We have 7 out of 7 commissioners present. And this meeting is officially started. First order of business is the approval of the agenda. The agenda was published online 7 days in advance of the meeting. There have been some updates since it was published, which I have noted in red, or some items have been struck from the agenda. Items that have been struck from the agenda that were submitted to me prior to the start of this meeting were the Environmental Justice Support Resolution, which has been moved to our September meeting, and also the Langley Elementary PTO grant request for lack of supporting materials will be punted to or moved to a meeting in the future. Are there any other items that commissioners would like to add or strike from the agenda that has been published?
Got one.
All right. I saw Commissioner Bishop Henchman's hand first, and then Commissioner Pinckney.
Yes. The Right Proper Brewing Company action item. We're not yet at a place where it's ready to get voted on by the commission. We do have some time, and so I'd like to take it off the agenda. However, if anyone is here because they wanted to speak on the item, I hope they still make their public comments because it will be helpful in informing the negotiation process.
Okay, perfect. So we will strike that item from the agenda. I will note that that item is, I think, set to be in front of ADGA on September 9th, and that our next meeting after this is September 16th.
Well, so maybe we don't have time, but I do apologize. It may require a special meeting, but that's because we don't meet in August, but hopefully it'll be a quick one and it'll all be tied up with a bow.
Great. Any objections from anyone? Okay, great. I have removed that from the agenda. Commissioner Pinckney?
Yeah, if the Edkington Civic Association is still on there for a grant, the Edkington Civic Association is not a 501c3. And to my knowledge, you have to be a 501c3 to receive a grant from the ANC 5F. Okay.
It's not a requirement of DC law that be the case.
So it's changed.
I can't speak to what it was, but as for what it is now, it's not a requirement that it be a 501c3.
Okay.
But obviously, if it is, it's not like they're going to get the money then, because we still have to go through OANC on this. So
there has been a motion to remove that item from the agenda. So Commissioner Pinckney has motioned to remove the Edkington Civic Association grant discussion off the table. Are there any objections? Objection from Commissioner Bishop Henchman. All right, let's go to a quick vote. Who would like to keep it on the agenda? Please show let's do it by hands or voice vote. So we can, Commissioner Williams, it looks like you are unmuted. So all in favor of the motion to remove this from the agenda, please vote in support. So the motion is to remove the discussion off the agenda. Okay, I don't see any support of that motion. Oh, Commissioner Williams?
Aye.
Is voting in support of removing this item from the agenda. I know we're having a lot of negatives, but I'm sorry. All in favor of not removing this item from the agenda?
Nay.
Nay. Nay. Okay, so the nays have it. This item remains on the agenda. Any other commissioner wishing to add or remove things from the agenda? Commissioner Galvin.
Yes, I noticed an email earlier about an appointment to the Committee on Public Safety.
Sorry, it's in front of.
Yes.
And that that person is not quite ready to join the committee. So if we can strike that for the moment, maybe return at our next meeting.
Great, excellent. Any objections from removing that appointment? None noted, so moved. Any other commissioners willing to amend, wanting to amend the agenda? Okay, with none noted, we will move to approve the agenda as has been noticed with the exceptions that we have discussed so forth. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
All in opposition? With no opposed, this agenda is adopted. We do have a robust agenda to get through today, so we will try to move briskly. First order of agenda on the agenda is the approval of the minutes. I'll go to our Secretary, Commissioner Bishop Henchman.
Yes, two items here under this one. First is the minutes of the June 17th meeting, which I distributed either on or the next day after that meeting. Got no comments, so I move that we adopt them as submitted.
Second.
Seconded, great. Any objections? None noted. Let's just go to a voice vote. All in favor of adopting the minutes?
Aye.
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 All not in favor? All opposed? With none noted, the minutes are adopted. Let's go to officer reports and
Sorry, I
commission.
had one more
Oh,
item.
sorry.
under
Go.
that.
Yes, absolutely. Sorry.
So, on our at our May 2024 meeting, we during the treasurer's report moved the adoption of the QFR, and it was seconded and adopted. But I did not note that in the minutes, and that is my oversight. Luckily, the good people at the DC auditor and the OANC caught that it was not in the minutes and notified Commissioner Hurst.
Yeah.
So this is not changing a fact that happened. It did actually happen. I went back and listened to the video just to make sure. So I moved to adopt the, I moved to amend the May 2024 minutes to add the following sentence. Commissioner Anderson moved to adopt the QFR, Commissioner Bishop Henchman seconded, and the QFR was approved without objection.
Great. Any objections to this motion? With none noted, this motion has been adopted. Now we
That's
shall
all
move
I-
on.
thank
Great,
you.
excellent.
Yeah.
So moving on to officer report and officer reports and commissioner announcements. I'll turn to officers first, and then any commissioner wishing to speak. Officers.
To do a very fast treasurer's report. We have had no expenses and we have had no income in the last month period. We still have a beginning and ending balance of $31,654.52.
Sorry, one more time.
$31,654.52.
Fantastic. Any other officers wishing to speak? Any commissioners wishing to make announcements?
One.
Commissioner Bishop Henchman.
We meet hybrid, both virtual and in person.
Zoom.
I think it's something we all feel very strongly about, making sure that we can reach all people in the community. We were doing so on a temporary basis because the law was changed during COVID to allow non-in-person exclusive meetings. And it kept getting extended and extended and extended. Last week, the mayor signed a bill to make it permanent.
Great.
So we're now operating under the permanent ability to do hybrid meetings. And I'm sure we're all very excited about them.
Fantastic. Thank you for that update. Any other commissioners updates? Commissioner Galvin.
I'll just make one quick note for folks who haven't seen the 3rd and Rhode Island traffic signal has started to be operational. Not in the full sense, but it's flashing light to notify motorists that it will be in place. And I've been told that it should be in service by the end of this month. So I know that's a big intersection, big unsafe space for people to cross. And want to thank DDOT for their help and for community members who have advocated for that over the years. That's all I have. Thank you.
Fantastic. Okay. I don't see any other hands, so let's move on to the next item on our agenda, which should be announcements from the mayor's office. Mr. Black?
Yes. Good evening, ANC 5F. My name is Anthony Black. I'm your Ward 5 Constituent Services Manager. Just a few updates from the mayor's office. Late Night Hike will be at Turkey Thicket, July 19th from 7 p.m. to 11 p.m. And that's just an event in which the children can come out, enjoy food, games, swimming, things of that nature for a late night hype event. Roving Leaders Day, Saturday, July 20th, 2901 20th Street Northeast, which is Langland Park Recreation Center. That's just a day in which residents, neighbors can come out, get to know your roving leaders, things of that nature, interact with them as well. The DC minimum wage. DC minimum wage has been raised to $17.50, which makes DC the highest minimum wage city amongst cities and states. DC has the highest minimum wage. The DC heat advisory is in full effect. Cooling stations are throughout the city, which would include DC public libraries. All DC public libraries are considered cooling stations. So if you're in the city and you're feeling a little overheated and you're near DC Public Library, please just stop in and cool off. Ward days. My ward days are Tuesdays and Fridays from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. Those are just days in which I'm within the ward, putting my eyes on issues and concerns. I encourage and urge all residents to please schedule time with me, residents as well as commissions. Please schedule time with me just so that we can get out together and address these issues and concerns in real time. That's it on my end for updates. I'm open for questions and concerns.
Any questions from commissioners? I have a quick one. Mr. Becker, what would be the closest cooling station to our ANC?
For Eckington,
Eckington and Edgewood?
I was about to say
the rec center?
the rec center,
Yeah.
yes.
Okay.
So, and that's another thing. Rec centers are also cooling stations as well.
Great.
So the rec center will be a cooling station.
Okay, great.
And soon the library that we're gonna get.
Well, any commissioners questions? Go to the members of the public. Does anyone have a question for Mr. Black?
Yes,
Right.
actually, glory to my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, thank y'all. And, my concern, I talked to someone about a second speed hump over there by Lincoln Road. The lady come by, Miss Desiree, she took some pictures of the area. We're trying to get another speed hump by Lincoln Road, and also we're trying to get another camera coming from the other direction, not going down Lincoln Road, but coming from the other direction towards Lincoln Road. So Desiree, Miss Desiree, she took pictures. And so we're trying to get another speed hump in that area because you're still constantly speeding and they're constantly still running through the stop sign. So my concern is safety for everyone. So I did talk to the lady. I'm glad that she came out and told me. She called me and she showed me, took some pictures. We talking about get another speed hump and plus hope to get another camera in that area.
Okay.
So this is my concern, the safety for everyone in this area.
Absolutely.
I've been learning, I lived in this area all my life, ever since the 60s. So I'm still trying to, by the grace of God, we get another speed hump and another camera.
So what you can do, you can definitely give me a call tomorrow.
Okay.
I'll do what I can to try to involve DDOT, see what we can possibly get done. But
Thank
you
you.
can definitely give me a call.
God bless. I appreciate that, sir. Thank you. And what
Fantastic.
time I can call you, sir?
Anytime after 10.
After 10?
Yes, sir.
Well, I can call you in the morning?
Yes, sir.
By 9 o'clock?
Any 10 a.m. Anytime
Okay,
after 10 a.m.
Okay. then.
Yes, sir.
He
Thank
has
you,
to have
sir.
his coffee, you know, get
Yeah, I
settled in for the
understand.
day.
I appreciate that, sir. Thank you for the
Not a
call.
problem.
God bless you. Thank you.
Any other questions from the public? All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Black.
Not a problem.
All right, moving on. Do we have anyone from the council member's office present?
I do not see. I do not see anyone from the council.
All right. Great. Well, if they join us later, we will try to see if we can get to them later. Moving on, we have public comment. We've allotted 10 minutes for public comment with 2 minutes per speaker. So please let us know if there are any items that you'd like to discuss. These don't necessarily have to pertain to items on the agenda. I do ask that if they are, for the items that are on the agenda, we will have time to talk about them. I just ask that if it is an item that we will be discussing, if we could hold comments until then, that would be really helpful. Would anyone like to address the meeting? Take a quick look online.
And if you're online, you can use the raise hand feature.
So how you
This
doing?
one?
Well, I don't have any issues. I just want to make our presence felt in here. This is Alicia Williams. I'm Kennard. So we work in the Edgewood community with Ward 5 Violence Prevention Network, and we're the specialists in the Edgewood community. We do have Nathaniel Garvin, who just started. He's going to monitor the 4th, between 2nd and 4th Street and 7th Street Northeast. And I know you guys have a lot of questions about the roles of a violence interrupter, and I'm open to all questions regarding that. So our space is in Edgewood, 601 Edgewood, Suite 5. If you hear Studio 600, that's our name for it now. But we go beyond violence interrupters as far as their spaces. Our purpose there is to, serve the community engagement. So what I do on a Tuesday, every Tuesday I do Coffee with Kennard with the singers. So Wednesday night we do a movie night for the little kids. We have our normal regular groups, and what our age bracket? It's between 16 to 35. That's regular groups. This community on Thursdays and Fridays we do. It's a studio inside Studio 600. So we take the kids on trips just to get them outside the community, show them a different lifestyle. We just completed IT training in Studio 600. We did custodial maintenance training in Studio 600. So like I said, it's our scope is beyond the violence, the violence interrupters. We're all about community engagement. But like I said, I know a lot of people don't know the roles of a violence interrupter, so I'm open to all questions.
Thank you. Any questions from anyone in attendance or online? Just in case you weren't able to hear, this is about community engagement, violence interruption, and any questions.
I guess I have a question.
Yeah.
Well, first of all, thank you for what you do. It's mostly unseen. I know you talked about what we see you do, but I know that a lot of the job is not really seen. We appreciate everything you do on that. What can the community do to reinforce your efforts or not do?
That's the purpose of me speaking up now, building relationships.
Yeah.
So we get to know one another. I've been in the Edgewood community 40 years. So I got 40 years there. So I know pretty much everyone there. And the purpose of me doing Coffee with Kennard with the seniors and the younger group, I'm there to bridge that gap because I grew up under the seniors and I was raised with the youngest parents. And with you guys continue to build relationships around the neighborhood, I can help bridge that gap. I don't have any issue out of any of the young guys. And I got only the Edgewood. Like I said, we do have Nathaniel Garvin that's serving the 4th Street and the 7th Streets. I'm just saying, and I do have relationships with most guys from both. I noticed her earlier, right? I went to this elementary school as a kid. So that's the whole purpose. Like, if we can continue to build relationships in the community, within the community, like one hand washes the other, and I can help, in that regard.
Thank you.
But one more thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
We don't have we're not the police. I
Yeah.
think a lot of people think we're supposed to stop crime. We try to get ahead of crime,
Well, thank you so much for speaking up, and also please let us know. Please continue to join meetings. Let us know how we can be helpful. Mr. Galvin, there was also a presentation later in the meeting from Mr. Shelton, right? Correct?
Yes.
Okay, great, awesome. Great, awesome, perfect. I think we had dedicated time for a presentation, I think later in the meeting too, but this was really helpful because not everyone stays till the end, so. Yeah.
I thought that was for that.
Oh, no, it's okay.
That's okay.
This is actually perfect because it's a topic that everyone is really interested in, and thank you. All right, great, excellent. Any questions? Anyone else wanting to speak?
Hello, I'm Tawana Smith. I just wanted to introduce myself. I'm from C. Sosa. I am the new intergovernmental community affairs specialist. I am taking the place of Ms. Christine Barron. I think I probably sent out an email probably about a month or two ago introducing myself, just letting everyone know that I'm here. I'll be out looking for different community service initiatives, different working with community partners, trying to learn the community, because I did come from Eastern River. I worked in 670 for 6 years plus. And I came in as an officer, so now I'm on this side and just trying to learn community and learn exactly what the need over here in the district. So if any questions or concerns, let me know. I have my card if you need a card, and I can give you that with all my contact information on it.
All right, fantastic.
Thank you.
Thank you for introducing yourself. Yeah, just grab some cards.
Yeah.
Great, excellent. Okay, so I'm going to close public comment and move on to the next item on the agenda, which is responsive public comment. Anyone wanna? I think we can skip. All right, perfect. Moving on to the next item on our agenda, we have a presentation from Noma Bid regarding a DC Commission on the Arts grant application. Who do we have from Noma Bid on? We will go ahead. I think Brian Smith, we will unmute you. Please let us know if any of your colleagues will be speaking as well.
Good evening. Yes, if we could also unmute Amanda Phillips and Rania Hassan as well.
Fantastic. We will get that in the works. But if you would like to, the floor is yours for the next 10 minutes.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you so much. And good evening, Chair Anderson and Commissioners. My name is Brian Smith. I'm the Senior Director of Planning and Economic Development for the Noma Bid. And I really appreciate the opportunity to present to you about the BID's proposal for public art at the upcoming Mamie Peanut Johnson Plaza. As I mentioned, I'm joined today by Amanda Phillips, who is the manager for placemaking in public art at the BID, as well as artist Rania Hassan. And
just to quickly interrupt, I don't think we see Amanda online or Rania, who I believe is the artist, correct?
Rania.
Oh, Rania's here. Okay, so we are unmuting Rania, but we do not see Amanda.
Yeah, Nadia should be able to unmute herself.
okay, if she's not on, we can proceed with Rania. I think I saw her on earlier. Maybe she got disconnected.
Thank you.
And also, may I go ahead and share my slides as well?
Yes, absolutely. I believe you're a co-host now, so you should be able to share.
Okay, perfect. Okay.
Okay, your slides.
Okay, great. So again, I'm really excited to share this opportunity for the BID's proposal for public art at Mamie Peanut Johnson Plaza. As you all know, the construction on the site itself is well underway. DDOT is making the improvements to the New York-Florida Avenue intersection, which last year the community voted to rename Mamie Peanut Johnson Plaza in honor of one of DC's favorite historical figures. And so Mamie Peanut Johnson Plaza is one of DC's most traveled gateways, and a key part of the improvements that will be made will be the delivery of 3 new public spaces that will not only improve connectivity for bikes, pedestrians, and vehicles, but also really create opportunities to relax and gather and play. And those spaces will deliver much of what the community has asked for throughout the public process, including a variety of seating options and spaces for play and pedestrian-friendly sidewalks. But that design always anticipated the future addition of public art. And it was actually one of the #1 things that was requested by the community in this redesign of the intersection. And so we are here to present our proposal. The BID had an opportunity in the spring to apply for the Public Art Building Communities Grant through the DC Commission on the Arts and Humanities. And so we're really excited to share our proposal with you today. So the BID searched for an artist that could capture the energy and diversity of the surrounding neighborhood and reflect the spirit of Mamie Peanut Johnson Plaza. And thankfully, we didn't have to go far. We were able to find an exceptional artist from within the greater Noma neighborhood, artist Rania Hassan, who you will hear from shortly. Artist Hassan may be best known for her work called Marker, which is a beacon at the corner of 17th Street and Connecticut Avenue, just north of Farragut Square. And we chose Hassan because we really admired her skill and commitment to site responsive installations. She has a strong sense of place, a strong multicultural pull, and she's a real advocate for women in diverse communities. And that experience and that desire is expressed through her pieces. She uses a lot of stitching and curves to connotate connection, security, and a lot of joy in her work. And so all these elements are represented in curve, and we believe it's a perfect sculpture to complement the incoming greenery and seating areas within Peanut Johnson Plaza. And so I'll turn it over to Rania in just a moment, but I do want to, be clear, make sure I'm clear in terms of what we're requesting. So we're asking for support for the art piece within the trio of spaces known as Peanut Johnson Plaza. As you can see, there are 3 individual spaces, but the exact location may need to be adjusted once the spaces are delivered. The grant application is due this month, which is of course before the actual spaces are delivered. And so there is a possibility that a slight adjustment may need to be made within the trio of spaces. So we're asking for support for the art within the trio spaces known as Peanut Johnson Plaza. And of course, we're certainly happy to, if the exact location needs to be adjusted, we would be happy to come back before 5F and share that with you and get your input. And so with that, I'm really excited to turn things over to Rania. And Rania, I'm happy to run your slides for you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Brian. Hi, everybody. Thanks for having me here today to present the sculpture design for Mamie Johnson Plaza in Noma. I've been working with Brian and Amanda on putting this together, and we're very excited to get to share it with you today. I'm a Ward 5 DC based artist and also a neighbor. I've been a Bloomingdale resident since 2003 and understand the importance of this connection point to our community. And as Brian mentioned, my artwork is about connection, and I do this through visuals representing threads. When I first heard of this project, I was so excited that public art would be a part of that intersection. So here we have the first rendering. Curve is made of 2 oversized arched forms representing stitches rising from the ground. These arch-like forms curving in towards each other mimic the lines around a baseball. One of the first things I did when I heard about this project was read more about Mamie Johnson. And as some of you may have guessed, the title Curve is also a nod to her famous curveballs. The sculpture is activated by viewers overlapping in and out of each other. The forms overlap in and out of each other as you move around the sculpture. Brian, if you can go to the next slide, this shows another angle of the piece. So we wanted to make something that would be interesting to people who view it, whether they're driving through, walking, biking, all the different ways people might interact. And also we wanted something that would sort of soften the area and encourage people to pause and linger some more. Also, like in reading about like the symbolism of archways and 2 circles interlaced, archways of course represent doorways, which is important with the idea of like a gateway connection point to the city. And then also the forms of 2 circles together interlaced denote community. The next slide shows another angle of the piece. So as you can see, like, based on which side you're viewing from, you see the stitches like moving in and out of each other or overlapping different ways. The next slide shows the color. So when I first met with Brian and Amanda, we were talking through colors, and they told me that Noma is represented by CMYK as a connection to GPO, which is a part of the neighborhood. And so researching the different colors, we found that magenta had this great meaning towards it, and that it represents like harmony and fosters community. So for the design, I'm working with 2 different shades of magenta. The next slide shows also the scale of the piece and how, so the piece is going to be made of 3 panels boxed in together to make the form. One edge will be one color, and then the 2 inner edges will be a second color. And then with the curves of the shape and then the light and the light at night or the light during the daytime and different ways that it reflects light. It'll cast different colors and shadows that'll make it look very dynamic. This shows the scale of the piece. It's going to be 16 feet tall. And then, of course, because it's organic and it's different for each side, it'll be about 16 feet tall by about 8 feet wide. And then this slide also shows like the different angles all together. So yeah, so we wanted to create a bright, colorful piece that stands out from a distance while is also intriguing to see up close, and would highlight the importance of the park as an area of connection, rest, and movement.
Thanks, Ronnie. And I will just note before we open it up to input that as we sort of write this grant and as we sort of put this application together, as we go back and look at some of the foundational documents and works and studies that led to the design of Pino and Johnson Plaza, OP's public life study in 2020, ULI's original proposal for improving that intersection. Just seeing the ways in which the public has regularly looked for and asked for public art that really takes this hard edge. New York and Florida Avenue are hard edges between Noma and Eckington, and really wanting markers and elements that really stitch those neighborhoods together. We feel real confident that the design of the spaces will do that, and this art, we really feel complements the design of those spaces. And we've just gotten more and more excited about this work as we've gone forward. We've done it in a relatively short amount of time, but looking forward to getting your input and looking forward to hopefully bringing this to the community.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. That was just under 10 minutes, so great on time. I will open it up to Q&A. I'll go to commissioners first and then members of the public. Commissioners? Commissioner Sami. Sorry.
So quick question. What is the specific action you are asking of the ANC for this? Is it to endorse a request that goes to the city and not asking for any of the commission's funds that we have allocated for?
I can speak to that.
All right.
So I've circulated a resolution, I have copies, but it's in your email. And it does two things. One, it confirms that they've presented to us tonight, which is kind of a check on the checkbox. And then second, it indicates we support their application, their grant application and project application to the DC Commission on Arts and Humanities. It's not a request for any funds from the ANC. This is a very competitive grant program, so ANC support is really important to kind of beat the competition, so to speak. And I'll put a question mark at the end of this, but like at almost every other intersection of two avenues in this city, we have a boring old statue, mostly of white men. And the plan here is, and as far as DDOT's concerned, once they're done with the New York, Florida Avenue reconstruction, there will be no tarp or anything in that intersection or anything. And so the proposal here is to actually do something interesting and imaginative and creative. It still has to run through all of the normal approvals. All the agencies will have to sign off on it. We're the first stop before they go into the competitive process.
Okay.
Excuse me, I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah.
I ain't been in the rush. I'm sorry, sir. Y'all talking about where the window used to be at?
Yes.
And so they can put a statue there in that
Yes.
area?
That's part of the proposal, yes.
Oh, okay, yeah. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. I was just want to.
No, absolutely contextualize.
Because I drive through it once in a while, but
yeah.
I know the window's not there no more. So
yeah.
They gonna put, like I say, a statue or could it be a statue of African American or someone of color about history? That's what we really need, something about history
yeah.
here in DC.
Yeah.
But that right there, I mean,
So yeah, I think that's one of the things that they're looking to get community feedback on, and we have the opportunity to ask questions right now. So I think I'll go to Commissioner Hurst first, and then see if any of the commissioners have questions, and we'll open it up to open it up for more questions.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sure.
Hurst?
I'll ask a quick question. It looked like there were some water features that were around. I'm wondering, as a school teacher, or is it okay? One of the pictures looked like that. And I also wanted to make sure that I ask how is this sculpture something that kids or that the public can interact with, can climb on? I just happen to know that a lot of the school kids around like interacting with their art physically, and I don't know, or is it to be looked at only?
Yeah, great question. So it's not intended to be climbed on. It's more of a sort of a marker and a kind of a landmark for the space. I will note that there is within the trio of spaces, if you look in the the space furthest to the right, there is a play sculpture that is intended to be the area for children to play. It's a little more protected. One of the curb lanes is coming out to create a larger space. So that is intended to be sort of the quote unquote play space. The other two are really more about sort of relaxing and creating a space of respite. But this piece is not intended to be climbed upon, but there is a climbing structure within the trio of spaces.
Got it. Yeah.
Okay, great. Any other commissioners? I have a question. Great. So I have a couple of questions. So are there, could you just do a quick recap of, like, I know Commissioner Bishop Henchman mentioned that the ANC 5F, like, approval or support is the first step. Just like do a quick, like, what other agencies need to approve and like what the deadline is. And then the second part is, just for clarity, supporting the grant is supporting the specific art piece, correct? Not like a general, we would love to have a public art piece in this square, support the funding, irrespective of the piece that goes there. It's tied to the specific piece, correct?
That's correct. It's tied to this specific piece with this specific artist, and this grant is always really tight. It's not released until April. We have to find an artist, and it's due July 22nd. So it's always a really tight time frame. The other approvals that will be required, and we've received letters just noting that we'll go back to them, include Department of Buildings, Historic Preservation. There's one or two others that we just have to get a note saying that if approved and if we get this funding, we will go before those bodies for approval. And we're starting to get those letters in. We've received most of them. But yes, it's for this specific piece of art in this space.
And I guess related to that is, are there any other opportunities or avenues for members of the public to submit opinions about this grant tied to the specific piece? Or is the ANC the only avenue?
So we shared this at our, we received signatures at our local farmers market last week in support of this piece. There isn't another opportunity between now and the grant submission, again, because it is so tight. However, once we, ideally get the grant, we'd be happy to bring this back before the committee if there's, additional feedback on the piece.
Great. I will open it up to members of the public for questions. Yeah.
Yes.
Can you move closer so the speaker, the
We
microphone?
just want to make sure that they can hear you.
Okay.
This is the speaker.
My name is Reginald Hurst. I lived in DC all my life, ever since the 60s. Y'all talking put art, nothing wrong with art, but can you put something have to do with history of Washington DC, starting to put a little statue that really don't have no meaning? It's just a statue, just someone to look at. But the thing is, can you put something like a statue representing history here in Washington DC, of people of color can relate to? I mean, art is fine, don't get me wrong, but something have to do with history in DC I've lived in DC all my life. Here I'm 70 years old, and I see the good and I see the bad. But the thing is, we need something by the grace of God, something that all people can relate to about history in this city. That's all I'm saying. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. I see a hand raised. Michelle Keegan, you're recognized. We are unmuting you in just one moment, and you should have gotten the request now.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so I just wanted to thank you guys for facilitating the redesign of the space. The one thing that I wanted to add as a request, and I know this is like something that artists often resist, and I'm not sure why, but like I would love if this space had an explanation of how the artist envisioned like how like what it's supposed to mean. So if the curves are supposed to mean something, like I would love to have an a sign that explains that, because I think that if we're hoping for mass people to see and enjoy it, it would just be nice to have an explanation of like how the artist in their initial vision was like the meaning behind it. So that's all. I mean, I'm happy, just, just a comment.
Great.
Thank you.
Anya Parks, I see your hand up. You're recognized. We'll send a request to unmute you now. Anya, I think.
Hi, I just wanted to say that I think that this is a wonderful idea. It can be difficult to measure the value of art, and I recently moved here and I definitely have noticed how the art is enhancing the area. I think this piece is abstract, but overall, I like the logic behind it. I like how it's rooted in, there's a clear effort to reflect DC history. And my only goal for all things in Noma and Eckington is just to make sure that folks that have lived here forever are, their point of view is being valued just as much as transplants like me. But it seems like that sort of effort is going into this. But I would also, my only point of feedback is going to a farmer's market. I'm not sure what sort of demographics would prefer a farmer's market versus a different type of place where you'll get a wider range of socioeconomic representation. But otherwise, I think this is a beautiful piece, and I think it's a great idea.
Great. Thank you so much. Any other hands raised? We are coming to kind of the end of our Q&A period, so just wanted to kind of see if anyone else had any questions. Okay, closing Q&A. Is there a motion?
I think it's on the consent agenda. So
Oh, it's on the consent agenda. Yeah. Okay. Great. Great. We will get to there when we get to there. Okay, moving on. The next item on the agenda is the Eckington Muse project. I will recognize Brian Brown and Next Gen Development to present.
Hi, my name is Brian Brown, and I'm the developer of a project that's located in Eckington. It's at the cross streets of First Street, budding Harry Thomas Rexford Memory, as well as R Street and Lincoln Road. What we propose to do there is build a series of townhouses and using the alley along with two houses fronting First Street. And we've been working on this project for about 4 years. We've been before you once before. One of the things we wanted to do is come before you tonight specifically to see if you had additional questions and request a vote to support the project, as well as supporting the closing of the portion of the alley between the two townhouses we own and the alley lot. That's part of that. So I'll open up the questions right now.
Okay, great. So I will open it up to questions from the commissioners first, and I'll open up to the public. Mr. Brown, could you just give a kind of a quick recap of the request that's before, so that what the question that is before the zoning commission. I know you presented before, but just for folks who are newer to the issue.
So this is an alley lot. It's zoned for residential, but one of the complexities we have, it didn't have street frontage. So in sitting with the Office of Planning, they recommended instead of trying to build it and going through complexity that way, we go through a PUD. If this was not in an alley, this would be traditional townhouses being done with standard permits. The 34 foot in height. They are 3-bedroom, 2-bath on the upstairs. 10 of them have a rental unit or accessory dwelling unit in the basement for a 1-bedroom. The other 5 are single family homes, which are mostly 3 bedrooms, 1 2-bedroom, 2-bath in the mix also. The goal is to have them all for sale. None of them are being rented, they're being developed and resold. 3 of them have been set aside for affordability. And with the ones that are affordability, we're doing 2 of them at 60% and 1 of them at 80%, which is unusually good offer to the city. One of the other things that has happened in the last couple of days, the Office of Planning has recommended in their report that it should be approved. The Office of the Attorney General, who doesn't typically support these projects, also recommends to be approved. And we have a letter of recommendation from the Eckington Civic Association.
Okay, great. I see Commissioner Williams with her hand up, so I will go to Commissioner Williams. We'll go to commissioners first with questions, and I see members of the public with their hands up, but we'll come to you very shortly. Commissioner Williams.
The screen went black. The video's no video access, so I didn't see the presentation.
Okay. He just had a placard up of the it's like the cover sheet of the plans. But we will see, maybe it's our internet. We will try to see what we can do. Yeah, there's a link to the agenda. There is a couple of documents that are linked on the agenda. I think the updated plans, the cover sheet is what Mr. Brown has up. Okay, great. Any other questions from commissioners?
The screen is still black.
Commissioner, we are seeing people say it's fine. Do you have a different video pin, maybe?
Okay, while we troubleshoot that, Commissioner Sani, if you could help troubleshoot for Commissioner Williams, let's carry on. Any questions or points?
Yeah.
Commissioner Bishop Henchman.
So since we last met, you've had that updated report from Office of Planning that you referenced, as well as the OAG report that you referenced. Have you gotten anything on DDOT? That's one question. And then the other question, actually, let's do the whole list. DDOT, DPR, fire and emergency, and DC water. And then the other question, I know it's a multi-part question. And the other question is, what community outreach have you done? I mean, let's just say in the last one.
As far as reports, correct me if I'm wrong, my attorney Carrie, when the Office of Planning puts together the report, they reach out to EMS, they reach out to them. They had actually a group meeting and a group call where they had a chance to comment on any issues they had. None were raised in the report. DDOT is a separate report that was also written, and they also support the project. So right now at the city level, I do not believe we have any issues at all to move forward. It's really a function of going before the zoning commission and going before the ANC for approval. As far as outreach, in the past month, one of the things I've been doing is going door by door, knocking on doors. I've reached probably about 50% of the residents that touched the project directly. There, I've reached of everyone I've spoken to, no one has opposed it directly of the ones I've reached. And that includes the people on Lincoln Road, that includes people abutting our street that touched the project, as well as the person who's most impacted, who is at 1706 First Street, whose house actually attaches to the project. He's actually going to be showing up based on his representation to testify in front of the Office of Planning Commission, or Office of Zoning Commission, to support the project. So we've really approached it from a bottoms-up approach. And for those who don't remember, in 2014, I came before the Civic Association was getting ready to come before the ANC to propose an apartment building there, similar height, more density. Neighborhoods, absolutely not. We don't want apartments. We don't want condos. We only want townhouses. So I went back to the drawing board and came back to Sylvia in 2019 and asked his townhouse is still on the drawing board? She said yes. About 2022, we actually had some designs where we then started reaching out to the neighborhood to do a preliminary presentation to them. The designs we presented in 2022 are the same designs that we're using today. There have been no material changes since we presented originally, other than requests from the neighborhood. Some of the requests the neighborhood wanted was to switch from single trash pickup to trash cans in each garage for the houses. So they also wanted a calming mechanisms in the alley. DDOT said they'll approve it and they're going to give us recommendations on what they want so they can work with the trash pickup. They want spaced a certain way, set a certain way. We're also including bike racks, both on First Street side as well as on the back side of the building, so that there's a place for people to provide bikes. And then, like I said, we're doing 3 affordable units. 2 of them are at 60%, and 1 of them at 80%, which is significantly higher percentage you normally see in a project this size.
Great. I had 2 questions. In the, I think, Office of Planning report, there was a comment that in your zoning case presentation that you were going to talk about the existing row houses on the lot. Could you speak to that?
Yes.
And then also my second question was, in the report, it kind of talks about how there was like an issue with the tenure of the IZ units that has been addressed. Could you talk a little bit about
Yes.
the change?
So what the 2 existing townhouses are being incorporated into the design. We've also been working with the 2 tenants that are there to relocate them so they're not displaced from the neighborhood. One of them actually has found a new location, is moving in approximately 30 days as soon as she's approved it for a new place. The other one, I have rentals in the neighborhood, and the timing is such that I think I'll have a 4-bedroom opening up that I can move her right to that in the neighborhood, because the goal is not to displace anybody. As far as the zoning, what we originally proposed were 4 affordable townhouses, all at 80%.
Mm-hmm.
In long discussion with housing as well as office of planning and all the related agencies, they indicated they preferred less housing but lower rates. So we ended up coming back with 2 at 60, 1 at 80, which is still even a better offer than 4 at 80%.
Okay. Before we go to members of the public, Commissioner Pinky, since it's in your SMB, I just wanted to give you a chance to. Okay, great. Then we will go to members of the public. Michelle Keegan, I saw your hand first.
Yeah, so I just wanted to comment that I am probably like not somebody who is like, yeah, please let's have construction in my backyard for a year. But this plot is going to be developed, and I cannot imagine a developer who's going to be more sensitive to our needs as a community and also sensitive to affordable development as Eckington Muse. And so I know there's been some delays in like getting this moving, but it needs to move. This needs to happen. And Eckington Muse has been more than transparent in giving us all of the information we could possibly need. I mean, in-person consultations, letters, emails, knocking on doors, like, and even like making changes to their plans based on community feedback. And so I don't like any hesitation or any delays in our community response and approval doesn't feel right to me, because honestly, if we don't do this, in my opinion, if this land gets sold to somebody else, another developer will not care as much about the community input as Eckington Muse is doing. And like, truly, I dislike the idea of like listening to construction, but also the fact that affordable housing is really wrapped in, and all like this alley behind my house is like waiting for somebody to be killed. And so even the fact that like Eckington Muse has been able to secure traffic calming measures and trash measures, like this property is going to be developed, and this is the right developer to develop it. And like, we should stop delaying it. All right, that's all I have to say.
All right, thank you. Next hand that I see is Anya Parks. You should be able to unmute.
Hello. I definitely don't know as much about this project as the prior speaker. My only question would be how we're sort of making sure that locals who have a historical place here are in some way being, I don't know, given priority or otherwise being made aware of this program. I myself benefit from affordable housing, but it took a lot of research. And I also have like advanced computer literacy that a lot of people don't. And so how are we helping locals who may be from lower socioeconomic status, have worse computer literacy, apply to this program so that Eckington natives are not being entirely replaced by transplants?
Oh, first of all, I've been in the neighborhood for 24 years. I've owned that parcel for 24 years. I've lived in Shaw since 1988, and after that in LaDroit Park. I've never lived more than 8 blocks from this parcel of land, so I consider this part of my neighborhood. That said, I also have rentals. 80% of my rentals, we moved from market rate to affordable 5 years ago, and they still are affordable, and our goal was to keep them that way. So we've been very conscious about the fact that we're seeing the people displaced. That's why the only 2 residents we have there, we've been working with them for months, talking to them about this, figuring out, do they want to try to get into a program to try to purchase a house? Because the affordable houses go through a very simple process that is managed, that's complicated to get into, but is managed by the city. We don't get to decide who gets those affordable houses. The city has a lottery process they go through. It's convoluted to me. I don't understand that. I'll just let them do their first pass and go from there. But we are very sensitive. And the beauty of this parking plan is this right now is 3 garages and a lot of parking spots for cars. So we're not displacing a lot of people.
Oh, I had a quick question on the parking. There's a note about how some of the parking is tandem. Does that mean that does that work that like one car
what it
goes
is,
to
there's
one
10
unit?
townhouses that are directly on the vacant lot, or the lot that has the 3 garages. All of those are townhouses that are 34 feet high. They have a 3-bedroom, 2-bath up top. They have a 1-bedroom below, but the 1-bedroom is only a couple of feet down, so it's above grade. And then below that, there's a garage, but it is a tandem garage, so it's 1 car in front of another. There's 13 legal spots according to zoning, but with the tandem, we actually have 23. Because if they don't count tandem as a second spot, but it's enough room to put one car behind the other.
So essentially, for the tandem, the way it would work would go to 1 unit though, right?
Correct.
Functionally. Okay.
But because it's a single family townhouse with an in-law suite or a rental, it might be the mother-in-law, it might be, statistically, we think we'll cover almost a 1-to-1 ratio, which is better than what you see in most neighborhoods. The second thing we're doing is we're doing green. We're aiming to build to LEED standards. It has solar on the roof, no gas. And as far as disruption to the neighborhood, as we're putting the water lines in, we talked to Awasa, which is one of the reasons they put a new fire hydrant in right in front of 1710. So the 8-inch line there, so we're not disrupting or tearing up the whole street to deal with that. We've been talking to them for a few years, thinking about this, and so we try to minimize the impact to the neighborhood.
Great. Next hand I see is Carrie Chet Campbell. Should have gotten a request to unmute yourself, but you do still have to click unmute. There you are.
Thank you so much. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, very good. I just wanted to speak in support of Eckington Muse and second what Michelle Keegan had to say. I've owned my house there at 1701 First Street Northeast for about 22 years. So it's just catty corner right across from there. So all of the positive aspects that this brings to the community, elevating potential the value of our properties, particularly the green aspect of the property, and just overall improving housing options in the neighborhood. It seems to me it's a tremendous advantage, and obviously Eckington Muse has been very responsive, as Michelle pointed out, to all neighborhood concerns, and echoing her point also, Key, that we're not going to see any other developer come in there who will do a better job for our community in Eckington. So I encourage the ANC to support and improve the proposed project, And thank you very much for the opportunity to speak.
Thank you. We have about 3 minutes left in our public Q&A. I see one more hand. Isadora Hudson, you're recognized. You still have to hit unmute in order to be heard by there you are.
I wanted to say that I agree with everything that Michelle and then the person who spoke just before me said, that I think that this is terrific and well needed. And I think that the neighborhood should move forward, and I fully support this.
Great. Thank you so much. Any other people, commissioners, members of the public wanting to speak?
One thing. Pardon me. Tell us what the proposed sale price of these affordable townhouses.
We have the affordable, the ones that are 3 affordable.
Well, overall.
Well, overall, we have not priced them. They'll be competitive to the ones in the neighborhood. I know houses in the area are typically selling for between 1.1 and 1.4, 1.5. I'll be honest, it'll be 2.5 years before they're built. And I don't know what the market is. All I've been doing is building a model. I've had this land for 24 years. So I have the flexibility of looking at moving this project forward and taking my time to do it right. And I haven't, to be honest, I haven't looked at the pricing side. I've just said, now is the time to do this, because right now they're getting ready to redo the rec center. They're getting ready to redo the field next to it. The school right there is going to be redone also, because that's going to become a swing school for when they redo other schools. They park kids there for a year at a time. So all that's happening about the same time, which means we're going to get rid of a lot of the negative stuff we've had in neighborhood all in one shot. So I thought it made sense to do it at the same time versus be a disruptor after all this other stuff has happened.
So the townhouses, at your best guess, would be over at least $1 million.
It'll be over $1 million. I don't see a house in that area that is a 3-bedroom, 2-bath with a garage and solar, and with that would be less than that anywhere in Eckington. And because most times you have off-street parking, but parking is tight. If that, you might have one car. You have tandem on these, so it depends. But there are some single family homes there that are also 3-bedroom, 2-bath that we have. There's 5 of those. 3 of those are affordable. The other ones are market rate. I suspect those will be right around the 1 million mark. The houses will be slightly higher, but I have not priced them. I just bought this land years ago with the vision of building something here, whether it be apartment buildings or townhouses. The neighborhood said they wanted townhouses, and I said, I'm going to go down this path. And once I get down this path, I'm going to say, okay, now we got this. What's it going to take to build it? Now I own a construction firm, but I will not be building it myself because I do 10,000 square feet or less. This is a much larger project, but I have insight on some of that stuff, so I'll be able to help engage that.
Great, thank you so much. We have elapsed 10 minutes of Q&A. Would anyone like to extend? I do not see any.
Can I speak?
Yes, absolutely. I'll extend for 5 more minutes.
Thank you, sir. I'm just thinking, can a family, a low-income family, can they afford this on their salary? Low-income family, there's in DC affordable housing that we have not seen yet, because the mayor, she wanted to have affordable housing for people, a low-income family, and then talk about the security around this project we're talking about. Whether it be security and cameras, that are 2 things: the low income for family and the security.
First of all, there are 3 houses that are set aside specifically for affordability for families.
Yeah.
And I believe there are 2 of them that are 3-bedroom, 2-bath, and then there's a 2-bedroom, 2-bath. And the DC Housing Authority, or the housing agency, will actually be doing the lottery to determine who they're going to initially make them available to. So I'm not sure how that process works. They'll be in charge of that portion. As far as security, one of the things that we've indicated in our plans is we're going to add cameras along the perimeter of the alley, and we'll look to try to see if we can tie them in with the police department so they have access to them also. Because for those of you who know this neighborhood, on the corner between Lincoln and this alley, right where this alley lot starts, it's been an illegal dumping site for the 24 years that I've been there. And they clean it, and within 5 days it starts filling up, and then it takes another 3 or 4 weeks. And when I say it's 2 or 3 truckloads of trash every 3 weeks. And so this will get rid of all of that, and the cameras will guarantee that it won't happen.
Will they have security guard in that area, sir?
There won't be security guard. These are townhouses.
Or
So
townhouses, so just cameras?
just cameras, correct.
Thank you for your input, sir.
All right, great. Thank you so much for the presentation. Just to give you an insight into kind of next procedural steps, this is on our action agenda, which means we will hear more presentations and the ANC will vote on it in a couple items on our agenda. There's a zoning commission hearing, which is on the 18th, which is in 3 days. So let's move on. Next item on our agenda is regarding BZA case 21080. I believe it's not Lona who is presenting, but she has a representative, and James Kelly, I believe. Yes. You have been made co-host. You have 10 minutes to present. If you are speaking, we are not able to hear you yet, but we have made you co-host. You still need to hit unmute. I think, see you, but cannot hear you yet.
While she's doing that, can you remind me where this is in the neighborhood?
There we go.
Ooh,
Okay.
there we are. So it's 1708. This particular project. Sorry. So this one is 2017 rear 2nd Street. So basically, it's the alley lot behind 2017 2nd Street. But I'm sure they will discuss.
That's in your SMD.
Yes, it is.
Between 2nd and
Yeah.
3rd and V and T.
All right.
Right.
Echo.
A little feedback going on.
You could try speaking one.
So we're going to mute that. You can continue your presentation, and then we'll interject when needed.
Okay. I did this before. Okay. So I sent a.
I think you might be on. I think you might potentially be on 2 devices because I think the feedback loop is happening on your end. So if you're dialed in on 2 devices, please
I got
mute.
it.
There you go.
Okay. I apologize for that. I had it on my big screen. I did send. Let me set my timer for 10 minutes. I did send in a PDF. And am I supposed to post that up, or is somebody there with the slide?
Oh, it's linked on the agenda.
It's linked on the agenda, but if you are able to share it, we can share it with everyone. So that way we know which slide you're referencing.
Okay, so there's a PDF that I just sent over that has 8 pages. And I sent it over to, let's see.
So you sent it to me. I've shared it on the agenda, but if you are able to share it on your screen, or if you'd like, we can share it here, but it might be easier for you to share it on your end so that we know which slide you're referencing.
Okay, so if you don't mind, because I went to my phone and I had my computer up. I don't have a camera on my monitor, so I went straight to my phone. So if you can share it, it's only 8 pages, and I'll just say next slide, if that works.
Yes, we will go ahead and do that. But while we do that, if you could, just in the interest of time, since we have about 50 minutes left and have a pretty robust agenda, if you wouldn't mind continuing the presentation, and we will get that presentation up.
Okay, great. Okay, so the owner, Lana, she, her and I are friends for about 20 years, and she's had this lot for about 5 years, a little bit more than 5 years, and there's been a huge dilemma that she went over in the last meeting. I'll just do a quick catch up, in which the issue was the utilities. She wanted to build her house there, so she bought the lot. But once she realized that the utilities weren't connected and how much they were going to cost, then, it's been 5 years since she's been trying to figure out what to do with it. So I came up with an idea that maybe she should subdivide it to give it more value and different things. So she went over the details last time, and you should have all of the details. And the issue was come up with a new design that makes sense that you all can possibly approve. So
just to interject there, I think the issue was that the last time she presented, there were no plans. It was just on the issue of subdividing. And just to just to kind of play a little bit of catch up. This case went before the BZA, where the BZA had similar feedback, where they said there's no precedent for approving plans if there are no plans. So I think the discussion was about more an abstract subdividing the lot, but there were not plans presented. So they asked that the plans be developed. So these are the plans that have been developed. And I just want to ask, as we go into this presentation, these are the actual plans that will progress on the site?
Correct. Yes, they are. The one that you have. So the first page is a cover page with just the zoning information. We can jump to the second page, or slide 2, if you will. And I'm not sure if I can't see it. Let's see. So it won't be on my screen. Let's see here.
Great. So for folks who are in the room, we have put the slides up. For folks who are joining us digitally, it's linked on the agenda. If you could follow along there. But I think you could, just in the interest of time, if you could continue presenting as though everyone can see the plans, just because we're about 5 minutes into the presentation time already. And again, we have to move.
Sure thing. Okay. What the lot is sitting facing the alley, and so we have to adhere to the alley regulations, which is 2 stories and 20 feet. Basically, I wanted to chop the lot down the middle, exactly down the middle evenly, and put 2 semi-detached, somewhat identical residences. They mirror each other, and that's right on the alley. Now, do you have slide 2 up? You see the elevations?
That's in here.
Yes.
Okay, so on the left-hand side, we have the front elevation, and you see the garage doors. It looks like one building, but it's actually the red dotted line that goes right down the middle. That's the property line. And then to the far left and the far right is also the red dotted line. Those are the property lines. So on the left side will be 1 full unit, and on the right will be 1 full unit. These are single families. There's a garage on the main level, and because of the width of the lot, and I chose to use the 5-foot setback versus having them go all the way across the lot. I have a 5-foot setback on each side. And so the front door is actually more so in the middle of the structure. And I'll get into that when I show you this a rendering. So basically we have garages on the first floor that face the alley, and the building sits on the alley, which is a regulation. But I did an 8-foot setback with the garage door itself because I personally don't care for garage doors or housing doors to open up on the property line at the street or the alley. That's just not safe, and it's not the most appealing. So for safety and security and things. So there is an 8-foot setback. On the far left, you'll see that there's an entry door, and that's like a courtyard area that will drive you down to the middle of the building, and then you can go into the middle of the structure. On the right-hand side, I have the rear elevation, and you can see again the 2 stories and also the roof line. I'm going to do a roof. I wanted to do a rooftop deck, and I wanted to do some solar panels that would help, reduce the obvious bills and the strain on the system. Next slide, which will be number 3, page 3. So this basically just shows the floor plans. These are drawings that are feasible. Yes, they can change, but what I came up with was each unit would be a 2-bedroom and 2.5 bathroom. You can see on the ground floor, the garages that are facing the public alley, and then the residential part being right behind it. And again, the entry door is right in the middle. And so we have basically a first floor bedroom with its own bathroom and closet, powder room, and then a coat closet. And then on the second floor, which is the bottom illustration, that shows the main living dining area that's open kitchen area, and the utility room, full bath, and another bedroom. And of course, these are all, there's room to play. I can even make it a 3-bedroom. There's room to play with this. The staircase continues to go up. And if you go to the next slide, that'll be page 4. And I wanted to do just an open roof deck We do have a good sized backyard. The backyard spans from the backyard to the property line in the back. It's about 60 feet from the back of the house. And, but I wanted to have a roof deck so we can have some private space, for the occupants of the structure. Now, the bottom illustration shows what it would look like from the alley. As you can see, the people in the rendering, that gives you an idea of the scale. The garage doors there, the entry doors on the left, far right, and then the second level with that French door that overlooks the alley. I vaulted the ceiling a bit, put some skylights there. I'm really cognizant of curb appeal, and DC has so many wonderful buildings with brick and stone, and I get a little irritated when developers come in and just throw something up to save money.
I just wanted to do a time check. You're coming to the end of your presentation time, and I'd love to have you're at 10 minutes, and I'd love to reserve some time for questions, but I'll give you a minute to wrap up. Okay,
I apologize. I said I got three minutes left. So I wanted the curb appeal is very important. So I'm using brick, white brick. Let's go to number 5. We see more renderings. So these are at angles. You can get an idea of what I wanted to incorporate some green spaces, maybe some type of ivy or something growing up the side. And then go to 6. And there's a picture of the rear view, the backyards. They're pretty deep, about 60 feet. Go to 7, more views of the backyard. And then if you go to the last slide, 8, that gives you an overview. Now you can see the whole thing, the whole lot from aerial view. And, you know, her original design wasn't that appealing, so I took it over and came up with this. And that's pretty much it.
Thank you so much. Let's go to questions first from commissioners. We'll open up to the public. We have 10 minutes. And who would like to start? Commissioner Bishop, Commissioner Galvin. Go ahead.
Thanks so much for the renderings. The one key question I have is the utilities that are being brought to this location.
Right.
Are they being sized just for these 2 properties, or are they being oversized to accommodate additional properties? The reason why I ask this question is because there are quite a few rear lots in that area, and this is the only forest patch in Eckington proper. And so it does contain, some very minute wildlife and some really important, keeping the area at least a little bit cooler. And my one concern is about developing that entire area. This particular development, I don't have a huge issue with, because as that corner doesn't have huge trees and really big benefits, and I think this would be helpful. But I'm concerned about bringing a utility that is 2 or 3 or 4 times this size, and having other developers basically use up that entire green space. So that's my question.
To tap into the utilities.
Yes.
Well, right. Some of the quotes that she got back were not definitive, but I can't imagine going through the process of bringing utilities and they're small, where they would only sustain 2 residences. I mean, I can't imagine that, especially when you're dealing with sewer and water and things of that nature. And of course, electric, there's no, that shouldn't be the issue. More so maybe sewer and water.
Yeah.
I would imagine that they would. I don't have that in detail, but we can work on that.
All right, great. Commissioner Bishop Henchman.
Yes, my question's on community outreach. I think, pulled up your file here, I think in March, this went to everybody within 200 feet. And I see in the file, there's really only 1 letter from someone and it's in support, but I wanted if you or Commissioner Anderson, because I think you may have done a meeting on it or done something on it. If you could speak to what the neighbors think of this.
And I guess I would add to that, since this presentation of the plans is new as of today, have the neighbors seen this particular plan that has been presented? And I guess I'll add to that too, just to kind of add a tandem question. I'm not a zoning expert, but do the plans that we were sent conform to the requirements of alley lots as far as like lot occupancy and that type of thing?
Correct. To the best of my understanding, an alley lot, they're looking for, and I've seen it built like this way, they're looking for the building to sit actually on the line, which, I'm not a fan of, but that's the requirement. They're also, in a residential zone, it has to be 2 stories and 20 feet max. If it's a commercial zone, it can be 3 stories. So my initial drawing was a little bit higher, but I shaved it down and I'm exactly at 20 feet high, even with the cathedral. So yeah, I'm adhering to the alley lot in the R4 situation there. I'm sorry, not R4, that's old, RF1.
And then I guess Commissioner Bishop Henson's question was regarding community outreach.
Right. So now, by this being new, because she did have some drawings. She had some drawings years ago, and I looked at them and didn't like them. But the project has been sitting there for a while, and I told her I'd help her, and then years have gone by, so we finally figured it out. So this is new. So I am definitely hoping. Well, actually, what's the process? People can go online and look at this, but how do I reach out officially that would be satisfying to the board?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think when this case went before the BZA, one of their key pieces of feedback was regarding requiring more specificity, right? So I'm glad that you've put together some more concrete plans. As far as the ANC 5F's process, what we usually ask is for developers to come and present. And then that way the public has some time to absorb these plans and then come to a next meeting with questions, which is what we had also talked about in the BZA hearing as well, which is why they've scheduled, I think, the BZA case for, I think, September 26th or something like that, right? 25th. Okay, 25th. So our next ANC meeting is September 16th because we don't meet in July. So what I would propose is that, thank you for putting more detail and more work into this.
Print it out and put it on the lot.
Yeah, I would say a lot of developers, I think the example for the previous developers that they've done some door knockings, they've done some meetings with the community. So I think that's another way to reach out to neighbors. And I encourage the applicant to come to our September meeting because we'll plan on taking action there since these plans are new. Everyone can absorb, time to put some questions together, and there's still time to vote on it before our September 16th meeting. But thank you so much for taking the time to present. I'll open it up to members of the public to see if there are any questions. But I know that there are also other pressing matters that need to be voted on. So I'll just kind of look in the room, look online. I see a hand on your parts. You are recognized.
My only question is about the preservation of green space, which is increasingly important in face of climate change.
Okay, so this lot is it's fairly deep. It's fairly deep, even with this proposed structure, and I can always adjust it. But the backyard, which would be all green, is 60 feet from the property line all the way to the rear of that house. And then also, I'm a big fan of the green stuff because I know that it's the way to go. The city is so much hotter because there's so much more surface. And so I wanted a portion of the roof deck to actually have permanent green spaces built into it, not just a big deck, but partial, even half to be green. And I also have the solar panels up there, and that's, to me, that's mandatory. And then I'm going to do some green embellishments across the front. Yeah, I'd like it almost if you drive by and don't even see it because maybe the trees are in the way or something like that. I got to figure it out. Same massing, but I'm going to go back and revise it a little bit better before I put it out to the neighbors. Better renderings than this. So green is definitely at the top of the list.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. I don't see any other hands in the room or online. So thank you so much, and we'll look forward to seeing you on our September meeting.
Great. I appreciate it. Have a good night.
Thank you for taking the time. Have a good night. All right, moving on. We will move on to the consent agenda. So all commissioners have the opportunity to remove an item from the consent agenda. The consent agenda is something that we do for expediency when there is general consensus, so that we just have to vote on a slate of things. So I will go through the items that are still remaining on the consent agenda. First is the Public Safety and Health Committee Community Outreach Plan for ANC 5F approval. Second is the reimbursement request for our Zoom Pro subscription, critical. Resolution requesting traffic calming for the intersection of 7th Street Northeast and Hamlin Street. A bottle bill resolution support, and then support for the NOMA bid DC Commission on the Arts Humanities grant applications. I will give commissioners a minute to let me know if they would like to remove any item from, just because of the letters have become a little skewed. Please just reference it with the original letter as is on your sheet. What has been struck from the consent agenda is the right proper brewing, because that was removed from the agenda. C, the environmental justice support resolution has been struck until next meeting. So please reference it by the actual letter.
I'd like to remove F so that we can have a little bit more discussion. It's the bottle bill resolution support.
Would you like to move it to the action agenda? Or
Yes.
Okay, great. So bottle bill support is going to the action agenda. I am going to live edit this as item D. Lona Aaliyah is going to be, that BZA case is going to be on September, so that is being struck. Any other commissioners while I'm making that edit?
I have a question.
Yes.
For Commissioner Galvin or for Mr. Aaron Price on the PSH committee community outreach plan. Is our approval of that approving the plan? Well, obviously it's approving the plan. Is it also approving the expenditures inherent in the plan? Because there's some printing and maybe mailing, I think. Or is that going to come back to us in the future?
So I think because there are resources already available at ANC, the commission office as a whole, that would accept the cost for the printing expenditures. But if there are other expenditures that are necessary, that we would come back to the commission to approve those separately.
Got it. Thank you.
Great. Any other items? I would like to move the NOMA bid Commission on the Arts to the action agenda. So I will move that to be item E. Great. Anything else from any other commissioner? So what remains on the consent agenda is PCH community outreach, Zoom Pro subscription, traffic calming. So that is on the consent agenda at the moment. Great. Are we ready to vote?
Yes.
Fantastic. Let us move into a roll call vote. Commissioner Hurst, do you vote aye or nay?
Aye.
Sorry.
Yeah.
How do you vote, Commissioner Hurst?
I do vote aye. Thank you.
Fantastic. Commissioner Sani, how do you vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Williams? Commissioner Galvin?
Aye.
Commissioner Anderson is me. I vote aye. Commissioner Bishop Henchman?
Aye.
Commissioner Pinckney?
Aye.
All right, great. So vote of 7 ayes, this motion passes. Let us move to the action agenda. So the first item on the action agenda is the grants process and a consideration of an off-cycle grant. Before I go to Commissioner Bishop Henchman for this, one thing I wanted to mention is I know that the ONC had issued revised guidance on how the community is affected, but I believe that the OANC earlier this year had a streamlined process where they requested all grant materials be supported to OANC as well as the ANC. So before we discuss the specific grant, I just wanted to kind of ask, has that been done? Because I don't think I've seen the ECA application come to us.
Right. Isadora, who is on the call, sent it straight to me. And part of that is because we haven't yet developed a process and an application. So that's why this is structured as off cycle.
Sure.
And you know, it's not I'm not eager to do it off cycle. I'd rather we look at everything. But we don't meet in August, and this is an event that will be in early October, maybe September. It's been in September in the past. So we want to make sure that we have a chance to support it. And just to remind everybody, our budget included $17,500 for grants. I'm pretty sure we've spent Zero of that.
Not spending it.
So this.
And part of it was because we were
And-
waiting
yeah.
for ONC
Oh, yeah,
to,
yeah, and let me-
which they issued
And let me
guidance
speak on
in
that too.
July, yeah.
There's been a issue with OANC approving grants, and it relates to language in DC law that says, we're short on time. I'm not going to go through the whole history of
Yes.
the short answer of it is the mayor just signed a bill into law from Robert White that fixes that issue. So now OANC is like, ANCs have at it with grants. And we have a whole section in our standard procedures, section 9, that puts limitations so that, you know, we can't line our own pockets and we do this other stuff. And this grant adheres to all of that. And Isadora is on to answer further questions on it. I hope you've all been to Eckington Day in the past. If not, I hope you all come to it this year. It happens every year, and this specifically is to enable them to do more children-focused events. We got, you know, all the business vendor tables, and we've got all of the music for adults and everything. And then for nerdy people like me, we have all the government agency tables, but we really didn't have a lot of stuff for children. So they have a very comprehensive idea of doing face painting, the bounce house if we can do it, and some other stuff in order to make sure it's a great community engagement and just fun day for everybody. So I'd love to give Isadora a chance to just answer questions if she has any, if anybody has any.
Great. I'll recognize Isadora, but I guess my question still stands as to like what documentation, because I do, while we haven't made a grant process.
Good evening,
I'm gonna keep talking.
patrons. The time is
kicking us
now
out.
So,
8:30.
yeah, I circulated a resolution,
is
it's
officially
linked from the
closed.
agenda, and in that
Edgewood
resolution, which Isadora
Recreation
helped me fill in the
Center
blanks on. And in
is
that
officially
resolution, it's trying to
closed.
answer all the questions
Please bring your
which
workouts to a
I
close.
conceivably thought
Return
might
your
be in a
weights to the
grant
rack
application.
and
So
dispose
who's
of
it
your
going
trash
to,
in
what's
the
it for,
appropriate trash
and does it
receptacle.
comply with all the
The time
requirements of
is now
DC law and our standard
8:30
procedures?
and Edgewood
As I said,
Recreation
it's difficult to fill out a grant
Center
application when we
is
haven't,
officially closed.
and ONC hasn't
Thank you.
produced a grant application.
So the thing is, I think OANC has produced a grant application, which they circulated earlier this year.
Well, they'll need to update it.
Right,
now
but they
that
have to
this
update
new
it now
law-
that this new law has come into place. So I think that is like, while I'm supportive of Eckington Day and the community engagement that they provide, I just want to make sure that we are procedurally following their
Well,
rules.
Let me put
Yeah.
it this way, as Commissioner Hurst can attest.
Yeah,
If we don't do this right, they're gonna
They'll
let
let
us
us
know.
Right.
Before the money gets spent.
Right.
So
yes,
it'll come back to us and then we'll learn.
okay, great. So I think I will
And
recommend, yeah.
unfortunately, that's been the
Yeah.
experience of a lot of other
Yeah,
commissions where
absolutely.
they're groping around in the
let us
dark
know.
without a lot of guidance from OANC and the auditor. And they pass something and then it comes back and says, oh, you did it wrong. And
Yes.
here's a new requirement that you didn't know about.
Yes, so I will recognize Isadora, especially if you could also talk about your timeline. I will say that I think with this new guidance, and because in the past, in March, they circulated a specific grant application and a process where they needed the application to be submitted to the ANC and to OANC in tandem, is what they had said. And then we were kind of in a holding pattern for the new guidance, and everyone had their grant applications rejected. So I will just say that, but I'll go to Isadora now.
Hi, everyone. So I volunteered to run Eckington Day last year. And I'm going to volunteer to do it again this year. It was a great success. I think whoever did it 2 years ago decided they didn't want to do it anymore. So there was like a void, which is how I ended up stepping in. Last year we had nearly 40 vendors who came from the neighborhood. They were food vendors, they were arts, they were local businesses, they were PTAs. The new ATC came as well, the technical school on 3rd Street. And we had face painters and touch a truck from Station 12 over on 5th Street. This year, I am excited to be the lead volunteer again, and I hope to have 40 or more vendors. I also hope to have a food truck. Oh, I forgot to mention last year, we also had a band And in order to do all of this, we need I need some funding, along with whoever I can marshal to volunteer with me, some funding to pay for the band, to pay for the face painters. If we can also get a bounce house, that would be terrific. Really, what I've found is that while these things are for kids, is that getting a critical mass of people to stick around begets more people, right? So if you have parents standing around because their kids are in line to touch the truck, or they're there to get their face painted, then that makes people come off the trail and say like, oh, what's happening here? This looks interesting. And then it just makes the day overall successful for everyone. So really that's my goal here. We're also this year going to be doing most likely a dog costume parade and a fun run, maybe from Lost Generation down back to the park, or from the entrance to Fort Myer back to the park. So we're having like more things to involve more people in the community. So I reached out to Joe to ask about the permitting or the grant making process. I'm happy to provide whatever information you guys need. I just a template would be good, or just telling me what you need from me and I can draw something up.
Fantastic. Any questions from any commissioners? Great.
I move the resolution.
Second.
As submitted.
Okay. So just for clarity, the resolution is in support of issuing a $2,000 grant to
Yes.
ECA for Eckington Day, and essentially we will
Specifically
work.
for activities for the children, including face painters, bounce houses, and supplies, provided that none of the sum awarded be used for food, music, fundraising, salaries, overhead, or any other prohibited use.
Quick
And
question.
it has other resolve clauses
In
that
this-
comport with law.
In this funding for a band was mentioned, is that?
We would not fund
Okay.
that. They'd have to find money from somewhere else. And that's in our standard procedures. We don't like music. We don't fund music.
Gotcha.
So for clarity, essentially this resolution would be voting in favor, and we would work retroactively to fill out the grant with OANC to make sure that they have their requirements. So this would be
It
the
directs
OANC.
me to do all of the
Yeah.
stuff required to
Okay.
make sure we get OANC on.
Great.
We got to do a special meeting and they come back with stuff, and that'll happen.
Okay. Commissioner Kennedy?
I would like to add something in.
Yeah.
Can we add, provided that the Eckington Civic Association is in fact a 501c3? If that's the case, then it moves on.
Again, it's not a requirement of either DC law or our standard procedures that be the
And
case.
you're absolutely sure of that,
I just,
as far as you know.
as far as I know, and while we were all paying attention to all the presentations, I pulled up our standard procedures in DC law just to, and I searched 501 and it didn't come up. If we learn that that is the case, and they will tell us, then, we'll be back and make sure.
Can we add a?
Yeah, can we add a
proviso?
clause, provisional clause? Would that make you more
Yeah,
comfortable
that-
of like, yeah,
I am only asking this because I have a school, Harmony Charter School, that has never been able to receive a grant. And so if it is the case that you don't need to be a 501c3, then they can apply for a grant the next time.
right.
That would be
That-
great.
that's what-
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So I think if it makes the commissioners feel more comfortable, we just add a provisional clause that says, provided
That there's not a requirement.
provided that there's no requirement for legal requirement for that the funding go to a 501c3. I think if that makes all the commissioners feel comfortable, Commissioner Williams.
Let me read it out. And provided that there is no legal requirement that grant recipients be a 501c3 organization.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Commissioner Williams.
Like Joe said, he researched the bylaws. And in the bylaws, they do state they need to bring an application before we support or reject. I don't feel comfortable supporting or rejecting it without an application on hand.
Yeah.
So that we can see the specifics. Retro will not work.
Yeah. I think that's a fair point. Okay, so would any other commissioners like to make a point I tend to agree with Commissioner Williams, where I think I'm a huge supporter of Acting Today. I think that they are doing great work, but I think that I feel less comfortable about doing a retroactive grant application. What I would propose is that we call a special meeting together, get the application, and we vote on it. And that in that special meeting, we talk about grants in specific, so that we are able to come up with a plan to notice grants, so that there's an opportunity, there's a little bit more fairness of other members of the community to apply for grants, so that they know about the funding, which I know is part of the public outreach committee's plans to do more outreach, or public safe and public PSH. Sorry, it's been a long day. I know that's part of the outreach plan to include more information about what the ANC is doing, but I tend to also agree that I feel less comfortable about doing a retroactive grant application. So that is my personal statement on that. I would be a proponent of calling a special meeting and a more transparent process. Commissioner Galvin.
I would motion to support the resolution as amended.
Okay. Great. So there is a motion to go. So what? Okay. So there's a second to the.
I move the resolution. I think you're seconding.
You're seconding. Seconding the resolution.
Roll call.
Great. So with that said,
did you want to move your? I think your suggestion was let's call a special meeting and do a special meeting. Did you want to? Were you just observing that, or did you want to vote?
I would like to put that to vote to call a special meeting. Before we vote on that. Yeah. I motion to call a special meeting, especially given that we are not meeting in August, so we can put another meeting on the books. I know Tony is rolling his eyes about that, but I motion to call a special meeting to talk specifically about grants and figure out a process that is more transparent for the public on how we are taking grant applications, so that we can publish that, set a deadline, etc. That my motion is to call a special meeting.
A second.
Commissioner Williams seconds. Let us take that to a roll call vote. Commissioner Hurst, how do you vote?
Aye.
Great, excellent. Commissioner Sani.
Aye.
Commissioner Williams.
Aye.
Commissioner Galvin.
Nay.
Commissioner Anderson votes aye. Commissioner Bishop Henchman.
Nay.
Commissioner Pinckney. Aye. So with a vote of 5 to 0 to 2, this motion to call a special meeting passes. I think we can schedule a special meeting separately and then notice it, correct? Yes, great. So we will do that. So given that, we will not vote on this resolution and discuss that at our special meeting. We will move on to our next item. So our next item is Eckington Mews, the PUD. There were 2 resolution texts that were drafted, one in support and one that kind of outlines all the procedures that have taken place, but saying that the ANC is not taking action. Those are both linked in the resolution. Which would someone like to move to discuss? Commissioner Bishop Henchman.
I'll move the resolution in support, and then if I could speak to it, if I get a second.
Yes, Commissioner Bishop Henchman. Go ahead.
Okay. So I know the history of this project is very long, but at least starting from the date of this file on October, I think in June, it was submitted to OP initially, or in July. So we're coming up on a first birthday of this application being submitted. On October 6th, it was given its ZC number 2324. And just to remind everybody, it's 26 multi-bedroom residential units in for-sale townhomes, maximum height of 34 feet, and includes affordable housing in the form of IZ units. On October 16th of last year, the Zoning Commission notified ANC 5F and welcomed written submission on the application. That's how long it's been kind of in our awareness on this particular application. On October 23rd, the Eckington Civic Association voted to approve the application and specifically praised the applicant's efforts to responsibly expand the housing supply. On October 24th, I think I'd previously said December, it was actually earlier than that, October, the applicant presented to ANC 5F and answered questions on a whole lot of questions: apartments versus row houses, yards, garages, alleyway, dumping, affordability, cameras, homeowners association, MPD, lighting, street naming, alley closing, number of bedrooms, street frontage, pedestrian access, trash collection, roof, shadows, air conditioning units, fire hydrant, traffic, bike racks, and other topics. And it was a very thorough meeting. In January of this year, on January 29, OP produced its set-down report. It described the application. It identified 4 areas for future action, which I think have all been acted upon. On March 26th, and again on June 18th, the applicants submitted their transportation statements and asked for input from all agencies, including from ANC 5F. On May 22nd, that's when the Zoning Commission scheduled it for their July 18th meeting, and we got another notice saying a welcome submission of comments from ANC 5F. Published that notice in the DC Register, mailed to all residents within 200 feet of the project. And then there's been more meetings since then, and in the month since our last meeting, that's when the applicant filed a supplemental report clarifying the IZ proffer, which I think resolved some outstanding issues that people have. July 5th, OP said, we recommend approval for it. On July 8th, DDOT said, we have no objection to it. On July 8th, the OAG submitted a report, and somewhere in there, OAG came and presented to us on this project and said they really liked it. As of today, I just looked on the record, there are 5 public comments submitted to the Zoning Commission on this application, all in support. And then, of course, the applicant presented today to us. So I move the resolution I shared. The ANC 5F supports the application, Eckington Muse, with one addition to add, and the alley closure, because that's part of the request. For all of those above stated reasons, and respectfully request that the Zoning Commission give great weight to this determination.
Great. I'm going to turn to Commissioner Pinckney quickly, since it's your SMD. Is there anything? Okay, Commissioner Galvin.
I was just going to second that.
Okay.
Second that motion.
That was a little motion. Great.
Yes.
Great. So the motion is to move to a vote.
Yeah, to support it. Yes.
Excellent. So we have the resolution in support. It has been seconded. Any objection to moving to a vote? Okay, great. We shall move to, actually, before we move to vote, I have a question for Commissioner Pinckney. I know we've been kind of talking about this, not in the public meeting space, but I just wanted to ask about like how the members in the SMD have responded. How has your engagement been before we move to a vote?
Well, as you know, I've been sending emails to 5F.
Sure.
My commissioners, which surround this project, I mean, my constituents, I'm sorry, many of them still are not ready for this. They wanted more information. That was what I was asking you for, and I didn't get it. So that's my answer to your question.
Okay, got it. Okay, that is helpful. Let's move to a vote. I guess before we move to vote, I just want to also mention that members of the public can also submit, there's still time to submit letters in support, letters to object. Also, you can pass along via the commissioners. There's information on the OZ the zoning website. There's an email that you can send it to, but you can always talk to the commissioners too about how to submit that feedback. That said, let's move to a vote. Commissioner Hurst, how do you vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Sani?
Aye.
Commissioner Williams? You're going to abstain? Okay, got it. So 1 abstention. Commissioner Galvin?
Aye.
Commissioner Anderson is me, and I vote aye. Commissioner Bishop Henchman?
Aye.
Commissioner Pinckey?
No.
Okay, with a vote of 5 to 1 to 1, this motion passes. Great, moving on. Just doing a time check, is 8:47. I know that there are some presenters that have been on the line to present. Can we reach out to maybe DMV to see if they can maybe, with apologies, if we can try to continue this meeting virtually once we're out of our physical space, is what I would propose.
Okay, yeah, that sounds good.
Moving on, bottle bill.
Is it all right if I speak to that?
Yes, go ahead.
Awesome. I got to talk with Susan Shore, who I believe is in the room. I would love to recognize her for 1-2 minutes, quickly, to talk about the importance of the bottle bill and something that I really truly believe would make a huge difference in our community and reduce litter and provide, well, let Susan tell us a few things.
Good evening, commissioners and members of the public. I'm Susan Shore. I'm a volunteer with the Sierra Club DC chapter, and we are also a member of a coalition of 18 organizations in the district that are advocating for a strong and equitable bottle bill. If you're not familiar with bottle bills, it's when you pay 10-cent deposit. So only like looking at this table, so for your bottle and your can, but not your McDonald's, that's okay. It's for bottles and cans. Plastic, glass, and metal cans. And there are 10 states in the country that have a bottle bill. They have been able to reduce their litter by 64 to 85%. And we have estimates in the district. We know how many bottles and cans are sold every year. There's 617 million bottles and cans sold in the district every year, and less than a quarter of those currently get recycled. And so that means the remainder of those bottles and cans sold either wind up buried in a landfill, which emits methane, or it's burned in an incinerator. And most of our trash goes to the incinerator in Morton, which is a majority Black and brown population, and then that population is forced to inhale those toxic chemicals coming from the incinerator, or as I'm sure you've all seen, wind up littering our streets, our parks, and our waterways. So bottle bills are proven to work. They're a solution to our trash problem, but they're also a solution to the environmental justice problem that we have, because most of this trash and litter is found in neighborhoods along the Anacostia River. So we hope that you will support this proven solution, and that will also cut costs for the district government and taxpayers. And happy to answer any of your questions, but I hope that gives like a big picture overview.
So generally speaking, what would the mechanism be to reclaim these bottles and cans?
Yes. What's the mechanism for you, like as a consumer?
Yeah, like how does it happen in practicality?
What it happens in actuality is that mostly reverse vending machines get installed. So they look like the vending machine that you might have gotten your can or your bottle from, but instead you slide the empty into a hole, and then it calculates how much of a deposit return you should get. And you get your deposit returned. If it's in a store, it could be for a store credit, it could be for cash. And then in some states, like Oregon, for example, they have set up the return system so that you can also make donations to charitable organizations instead of taking the money back. So it could be a way for faith-based organizations to drive up their donations. And some of the states have also set up savings accounts for higher education, so families can just direct all of their deposits. They don't get the cash back, but they put it into a bank account so that they have funding for higher education.
Could you talk just a tiny bit about what this could do for the homeless population and providing work in that way?
Yeah, so in New York City, there's a very active population of people called canners who go around. And so we're not saying that people will stop throwing their things on the ground. Some people will continue to litter them, but now there's an incentive for somebody to pick them up, and canners pick them up, and in some cases are able to support themselves and support their families, especially if there are systems set up where they can return large quantities of bottles and cans. So it could help provide employment. Which is why our motto for our campaign is cut trash, earn cash.
That's a great idea. That's a great idea.
I love this.
Are we ready to move to a vote on the bottle bill?
Yes.
Sorry.
Yes. Yeah.
Sorry.
Yes. Seconded. That's right.
I motion.
All right, Commissioner Hurst.
Aye.
Commissioner Sani.
Aye.
Commissioner Williams. Commissioner McGovern.
Aye.
Commissioner Anderson is me. I vote aye. Commissioner Bush-Pension.
Aye.
Commissioner Pinckney.
Aye.
Fantastic. 7-0-0. This motion passes. Going to the NOMA bid Commission on the Arts and Humanities.
Thank you very
I
much.
know we're not.
Thank you.
We're not.
I'm
Sorry, we gotta keep going. That's why I gotta go.
No.
Who? I think they're still on the line.
Online.
No, just to vote. Okay,
work on this, and
so I voted to, I'm sorry, I asked to move this to the action agenda versus the consent agenda.
Okay.
My personal feeling, my thought process here is that while I'm very supportive of public art in public spaces, I think I would have wanted to see a little bit more community outreach done before providing the weight, like providing support of the ANC. So I am personally voting to abstain on this, even though I would love to see more public art, but I just don't feel ready to vote in favor of this project because the question I had asked was about the grant being tied to this very specific art piece. That is why I'm personally choosing to abstain, which is why I moved to the action agenda. But is there a motion to put to go to vote on this?
I move to adopt the resolution.
Yeah.
All right, great.
Second.
Great, excellent. Let's go to a roll call vote. Commissioner Hurst.
Aye.
Commissioner Sani.
Present. That's it.
Oh, got it. Commissioner Williams.
No.
Okay. Commissioner Galvin.
Aye.
Commissioner Anderson's me, so I vote present / abstain. Commissioner Bishop Henchman.
Aye.
And Commissioner Pinckney.
Abstain.
Okay, great. Could someone roll back? I was not keeping track.
2 to 1.
Secretary?
3 to 1 to 3.
3 in support,
Yes.
1 no, and then 3 abstentions.
So
Okay.
So it passes?
yes.
Because
More yeses
there-
than no's.
I'm sorry?
There's more yeses than no's.
I see. So I see, because it's 3 to 1. I see.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so a motion passes. Great. So then we have on the agenda a presentation from DMV and committee updates. We are about to be asked to leave our public space. But what I would propose, if DMV would, is there someone from DMV still
Yeah,
here to present?
Director Robinson is on.
I would still love to give them the opportunity to present since they have waited so patiently. Thank you so much.
Sure.
If we could take like a 2-minute break to move out of our physical location and keep I'll turn on my hotspot.
Well, if we just go outside, it'll.
Yeah, and go
We'll still
outside.
go.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think if
we
we
can
go
carry-
outside just to be respectful of our physical location host. I know this is a robust meeting, but if that's okay, we'll pause the meeting for 1 minute, move out of our physical space and keep the meeting going.
All right, you should be a co-host director. You can start sharing while we relocate.
Thank you so much for your patience.
Director, are you there?
Can I take something?
It might be someone else.
We can hear you now.
Can you hear me?
Yes, thank you so much, Director.
Or so you're suggesting that I give a presentation while you guys are moving out?
Yeah,
We have the speakers on. You
Yeah,
just have to
let
move to
me
the room
give
over.
just a quick context for this.
I would say, okay.
Hold on.
Sorry, 1 second.
Daniel.
Daniel.
Hold on 1 second.
Can you send me whatever?
Joe.
Sorry, 1 second.
So,
I'll
Director-
take questions that the commissioners have. How about we just do that?
So we have to move out of our location. I think if you can start at least maybe providing some context on what the current laws are for moped usage and registration, and what is basically required for motorcycles versus mopeds versus typical scooters. Provide that context as we relocate, and then we can ask questions as soon as we do that.
And it seems like people left, but we're all still here.
We're still here. We just
Yeah.
cut our camera feed. I'm so sorry that we took a little bit long in other items of our agenda, but thank you so much for your patience and for staying on. But if you could provide that information, that would be wonderful.
A motorcycle is required to have a driver's license. They're required to have an M endorsement, meaning extra training. They must register the vehicle, wear a helmet. A motor-driven cycle must have all of the same things minus a M endorsement. And those are the scooters, mopeds. They are required to be registered. They're required to have a driver's license. And they're required to wear a helmet, cannot use the bike lanes, cannot use the bus lanes. They must use the roadway. Those are the two categories. There's no difference between a scooter and a moped. They all fall under the category of a motor-driven cycle, and they are required to be registered.
Thank you. Is what we have at least been noticing in, I'll speak for myself. I've been noticing, this is Commissioner Galvan, that there are significant moped users who don't appear to have any registration, who are not abiding by any of the laws. And I wanted to know, I know that's probably mostly in MPD's court to actually enforce those, but is there anything the DMV is doing currently for that?
The DMV has increased its educational outreach to ensure that the community that's using these devices understand the requirements of the road. We're also reaching out to dealerships and to rental companies to ensure they understand the requirement of registration and driver's license for these modes of transportation. And we, of course, are partnering with our sister agencies in the enforcement arena, such as DPW and MPD, to ensure any support we can give them in their efforts that we allow for that.
My district includes the metropolitan, a lot of moped use related to. So my question was on delivery services. Is there anything your office is doing to make aware of the laws around moped use and that they're restricted from the trail to those services?
Again, the same communication. We've been doing outreach to the different communities, particularly the immigrant community. We've been working with the Mayor's Office of Immigration Services to ensure that they are aware of the different requirements, including where the device can be used. It is not allowed on bicycle trails, bus lanes. It must be used on the roadway. An individual must have a driver's license and the vehicle must be registered.
This is Commissioner Sani. Do you have plans to install signage in multiple languages? Because we, of course, see this a lot on the Metropolitan Branch Trail. There are many points of entry, some of which have places where food can be picked up. I think it's like, based on talking with people in the community, you'll see they know exactly like where these mopeds are entering these protected multi-use trails. Are there plans to get signage up? Because this is a recurring challenge and it's something that's going to continue to be an issue. So
there's no plans for the DMV to install signs, as we do not install signs. However, we are communicating with the Mayor's Office of Immigrant Services so that, and that's in multiple languages, to ensure individuals that are using machines.
Are you able to collaborate with DDOT on those?
I'm sorry?
Are you able to collaborate with DDOT on those?
I don't usually collaborate on signage, but I will be happy to pass along your thoughts.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Director.
Yeah. Can I ask?
Commissioner Pinckney. I guess I'm still sharing. Commissioner Pinckney.
One quick question. Will the drivers
You're breaking up. I can't hear anything you just said if you're talking.
have to obey all traffic laws?
So I missed half of that. It froze, but I think your question is surrounding traffic laws. Yes, anyone driving a moped or scooter, motor-driven cycle is the legal term, are required to follow the rules of the road, including not riding in between vehicles.
Thank you.
So yes, all that is required. Stopping at stoplights, stop signs, obeying the speed limit. All those things are indeed required.
Okay, thank you.
I guess my question is where the line is between, the scooters that you definitely, I see kids on all the time. They definitely don't need a driver's license, or apparently the kids don't need a driver's license. They sure don't act like they need one. But then where's the line where it becomes a moped instead of a scooter? Is there a CC? Is there a speed it becomes a moped?
So the only definition, legal definitions, is a motorcycle and a motor-driven cycle. Those are the two definitions. So scooters and mopeds fit into the motor-driven cycle. A motor-driven cycle must not be operated more than 30 miles per hour and have no more than a 50 cc engine. If it has more than 50 cc's or operated more than 30 miles per hour, then it is considered a motorcycle, which would then kick it into other requirements, such as having an M endorsement on the driver's license.
Okay, so if you have I feel like with electric vehicles, the CC requirement gets muddy.
That's why the miles per hour is also there. It's both.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Make a point about there are a ton of these.
You're breaking up.
Vehicles that are, let's say, 49 cc. And the other problem we're at least I'm experiencing another. So I would like, and I know this is more of a council question than maybe you, Director Robinson, but I think there needs to be some sort of changes so that we can breathe a little bit better and have everyone respecting the roadways. And this is drivers included, not just people driving scooters. I don't want to single them out. There are so many of them that seem to have come more recently that are putting themselves in danger as well as other people. That's all I have. Thank you.
So I missed the first part of that as it froze, but there are efforts to ensure, I think MPD just did an Operation Ride Right, which is an education and enforcement campaign to ensure we educate motor-driven cycle users about the requirements on using the roadway, as well as enforcing things such as no registration, no license. All those things are happening in tandem, as well as educational outreach to different organizations that are closely aligned with the community that we're seeing using these motor-driven cycles, which are immigrants, mainly to have a living. We're seeing a number of immigrants, many of which that do not live in the district. So that's a challenge as well, because not all of the rules are the same when you come in from another state. So all of those things are percolating at the same time. I think it will take a little time just to get the community to understand those requirements. But we are working daily to ensure we're educating the public as such.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Great. Any other questions?
That's all I have for me.
Fantastic. Thank
Thank
you
you
so
for staying
much.
so long.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
Director.
We apologize for the transfer of locations, and we truly appreciate you staying so late to address this very important issue.
Thank you for having me. Have a good night.
Thank you.
You as well.
All right. Is there a motion on? I motion to skip committee reports.
Seconded.
I have one note about the library.
Yes.
The
focus group.
Yes, there is. I believe there is a recent flyer that they are pushing out to get by the end of this month all of the comments on where the library is going. So if you haven't checked the ANC,
Quick correction on dates.
Yeah.
There's a preference for the end of the month, but it actually extends to mid-September.
Thank you.
So
Thank you for that.
yeah.
Yes. So yeah, we'll post it on the website. It already is posted there, I believe. So folks should make sure that they take that survey as soon as
And there are plans to start flyering with that, I think, as well.
Yes, and distribute to the community groups in the area.
Yeah.
That's all I have.
Quick question on the library.
Yes.
Originally, it started out that the library was for Stronghold, Edgewood, and Eckington. And now I'm seeing just Edgewood and Eckington. What happened to Stronghold?
I don't think there's any viable locations in Stronghold because of its size of location. I could be mistaken, but
And Eckington's down to just one of the four, so.
so I don't know. They
Might just
didn't
be the
answer that
Edgewood
question,
Library.
but in their last presentation, they didn't mention anything about
Yeah.
it.
I'm speaking
Draft,
of
right?
use of the library.
Oh,
for
yes.
Those
Yeah.
three areas.
Oh, yes, anyone can use the library.
Anyone with a
obviously.
DC library.
Yeah.
I think most of the locations that the DC Public Library had been pushing forward are in Edgewood.
Okay.
But that is not something that we have really fed into. So that is from the DC Public Library system.
Yeah, and there's no resolution on the board right now for the commission to take any stance on it at this time.
Any other very important updates?
Nope.
Fantastic. Is there a motion on the table
On this.
in general in life?
I move to.
No,
No,
just
no.
it-
Move to adjourn.
Adjourn.
I thought we were about to motion.
I second Commissioner
I second
Williams.
it. Yeah, second.
That's
Great.
right.
Excellent. Any objections? All right, perfect. We are adjourned. Thank you so much for hanging on.
9:09 p.m.
Oh my gosh.
We're adjourned.